So what brings you happiness? What are those things that ice cream sundae? Maybe it's binge watching your favorite TV show. Maybe it's doing both of those things at the same time. We all have these things that make us happy in our lives. But we also know there are plenty of things that take away that happiness. Like we've talked about in the last couple of weeks, there's so many things out in this world that take away our happiness. We know happiness does not last for a long time. And so today I want to focus more on that happiness does not last, but we have a joy that does. But first I want you guys to answer next this question. What takes away your happiness? What stops you from being happy? Our sadness and pain seem like they are going to go on forever. Like there's no end to the sorrow that we have, especially when we're living in the moment. And then on the opposite side, our happiness seems so short, that our happiness is just something that goes and comes real quick. And we try to get that happiness as often as we can. And so because of that, we search for happiness in a lot of different ways. We want that feeling of happiness. We want that feeling of being good. And so because of that, we search for fun and that feeling of that we probably shouldn't search for. And so we see that in our lives too, that we are searching for a happiness that does not last. So I want you guys to answer this question next. Where do you search for happiness? Where do you look for happiness? And does that always last? So because this happiness that we are looking for doesn't last, we get even more anxious and angry and sad. That ice cream that we loved so much gave us a stomach ache. Those friends who we wanted to be so close to, we get in a fight with. That crush that we had on someone else doesn't like us back. Or whatever it may be, the happiness that we are searching for doesn't last us very long. And so we need to have a happiness that lasts. And so that's the difference between a happiness and a joy, right? That our happiness is a feeling that can come up in the moment. But joy is what sees us through even difficult times. We can be sad and angry and anxious and still have a joy in this world. We can still have a joy that lasts beyond the moment we are in, and that can be pretty hard sometimes. But it's where we seek that joy, where we have that joy is the biggest thing. We can have joy in things that don't last us very long, whether a TV show or nice weather, but a joy in God lasts for all eternity. And so that's where we put our joy. And so we see in Psalm chapter 126 verses 5 to 6 says, "Those who sow in tears shall reap with shouts of joy. He who goes out weeping, bearing the seed of sorrow, sowing, shall come home with shouts of joy, bringing his sheaves with him." So of course, We still have troubles and sorrows and anger in this world, but where our joy comes from Jesus, is where things change completely. Our sorrows that we once had, we can now turn to joy. So I want you guys to see what Jesus' joy is in Hebrews chapter 12, verse 2. You guys read that together. So this joy we talk about as Christians isn't some happy-go-lucky, put on a happy face and sunshine and rainbows type of happiness. This isn't covering over any pain and sorrow that we have. We see this joy that Jesus had, saw him through the most excruciating pain and sorrow of the entire world. This joy saw him through all of that. This joy saw him through shame and pain of the cross, both physical and emotional pain. And this joy that he had was our forgiveness and salvation, that we would be with God forever. That is Jesus' joy. And so he gives us this joy as we believe in him, that we are able to know who he is and be with him. And that's why I love this picture so much, is because it's Jesus jumping out full of joy that we are able to be with him, that we are able to be forgiven of all of our sin, that's anger and sorrow and sadness are no longer masters of our lives. They are not the thing that lasts forever. We can look to something far greater, far longer lasting than anything of this world. So we see what Jesus has done and hold on to that promise. We hold on to it through all of those difficulties, through the stomach aches from the ice cream, the end of a TV show that we loved so much, from our significant other breaking up with us, from the evil and violence and sorrow of this world, from war and famine. All of those things, every single one of them, no longer are those things that rule over us. We get a joy that lasts throughout all of it. It's not just a happiness, but a joy. And we see it in a great picture in Revelation chapter 21, verse 4. So guys, read that together. So our joy is bigger than anything of this world. Our joy lasts forever. We hold on to that picture in Revelation because we know God promises it to us. We know in heaven we will be with him forever. And so we hold on to that joy even in the midst of struggle. Even in the midst of everything going on in this world, we know God's joy is there with us. Although we may be sad right now, although we may be crying and don't know what to do in this present time, we know, as the Bible says, joy comes in the morning. Meaning we get to see what that is going to be like. We get to hold on to that joy in the future. We may not know what a lot of things look like in the future, But as Christians, as those who trust in God's promise, that is the one thing we get to hold on to. We get to know that God is going to see us through everything and anything. And so that gives us joy. That gives us something that we can hold on to. This joy lasts through all of our lives. So I want you to answer this next question and pray together as a family to end. Right, what in your life, how can joy help you? What are some ways that this joy of Jesus can help in your specific life right now? It's easy for us to say, well, just be happy. But where does this joy need to help you? Where are you anxious? Where are you sad? Where are you being clouded from seeing this joy of Jesus? So answer that question together and then pray about it together as a group. Have a great week, guys, and I'll see you later.